Everybody loves a good underdog story. We like seeing the little guy, the outcast, the misfit rise above all odds and come out on top. Audiences enjoy watching characters that they can connect with, fall in love with, and root for. One character that audiences have been watching and rooting for over 40 years is the Italian Stallion himself, Rocky Balboa. The first Rocky film opened in theaters on December 3rd, 1976, and also against all odds, quickly became a massive critical and commercial success. The story of the film and the story of how the film got made are both underdog stories in their own rights. The life of Rocky Balboa and his portrayer, writer and star Sylvester Stallone, very much parallel one another. Sylvester Stallone was a struggling actor in the 1970s, landing only a few minor roles here and there. After a while, he decided to move on to Hollywood, but his luck didn't change much. Down on his luck and hardly with any money to his name, one night he watched the great Muhammad Ali take on a local boxer named Chuck Wepner. He was inspired watching this essentially nobody take on the champ and actually hold his own. The idea that this no-name got a chance in the spotlight. He really loved the idea that this no-name got a chance in the spotlight, and he truly ran with it. He saw the potential and wrote up a screenplay in just under 3 days. Stallone shopped it around to some producers and they loved it, but they didn't love him for the lead role. They offered him $360,000 for the script on the condition he would not star in it. But this was his story, and despite dancing along the lines of poverty, he refused. Eventually, the producers gave in, and he would play Rocky Balboa. Interesting story on how the executives of the studio greenlit Rocky. They weren't confident in giving the go-ahead to a boxing film starring an unknown actor, so they screened the film The Lords of Flatbush, which Stallone starred in alongside Henry the Fonz Winkler and Perry King. However, they watched the film under the misguided notion that Perry King was Sylvester Stallone, and Perry King, to his credit, looks much more like a leading man than Stallone does. So thinking Perry King would be their Rocky, they said, sure. Oops. But I think in hindsight, that's what one can call a happy accident. And I don't know who that other actor was on the far right. Casting for the rest of the film wasn't easy either. The roles of Adrian and Apollo Creed were cast at the very last minute. For the casting of Apollo Creed, they looked at real-life boxers like Joe Frazier. After a few seconds in the ring with him, though, Stallone needed 4 stitches. Finally, former NFL player Carl Weathers came in. During his audition, he read with the head writer, Stallone, and at the end of it he went, "I would have done a lot better if I was reading with a real actor. Who's going to play Rocky?" Awkward. Stallone thought Weathers was so arrogant and so pompous and yet perfect for the character. They probably used all these feelings while filming their fight. And as for the fight, Stallone and Weathers had no boxing experience, but they both had professional training for the film. The entire fight was choreographed from start to finish, and Stallone received 3 broken ribs and Weathers a broken nose during filming. The exact opposite injuries their characters suffered. Sort of an odd writing choice. Susan Sarandon, Cher, and Bette Midler were all considered for the role of Adrian. With just a few days before cameras started to roll, Talia Shire came in to audition, and they found their leading lady. Because the film had such a small budget, they had to do a lot of cost-saving maneuvers. The film had to be shot in under a month. Many of Stallone's own family played minor roles, and a lot of what Rocky wears is his own wardrobe. They had 1 motorhome for wardrobe and a bathroom. They didn't have much money left when it was time to film Rocky and Adrian's first date. They couldn't afford to film at the ice rink with a bunch of extras, so the director said, what if the ice rink was closed? So they have their date in the empty ice skating rink after hours, and that made the scene much more intimate and much more unique. And they actually did film in Philadelphia behind all the backs of the unions to cut costs. The signature Rocky theme that we hear during the iconic training montage almost wasn't made. A small budget left not much money for music, but young Bill Conti took the job and composed the entire score in just about 3 hours. Most orchestras watch the film while they score so they can practice and get a feel of what they're making music to. But they didn't have money for a projector, so they just sort of ran with it. They just envisioned what was on the screen, and they just wrote their music. 3 hours. They wrote the whole music for the film in under 3 hours. Yep. It worked good, though. And to this day, people still run, box, and exercise with that theme playing in their heads. Fun fact. Exactly, one of the most well-known themes in cinema history. Fun fact, it was on the production of Rocky where the Steadicam was invented. No joke, the cameraman Garrett Brown invented the rig so he could follow Stallone and the cast as they moved around, as they ran around, as they maneuvered around the arena, just so like he could have a steady shot and the camera wouldn't shake. Some of the most iconic shots in the film would not have been possible without the invention of the Steadicam. Rocky was released into theaters December 3rd, 1976, and became an instant runaway hit. Nothing like it had ever come before, where audience members were cheering in the theaters like they were watching an actual boxing match. It was made on a budget of under $1 million and earned over $100 million at the U.S. box office. Rotten Tomatoes obviously didn't exist back then, but it holds a 93% approval rating and is the second highest rated film in the Rocky franchise. The highest is the first Creed film. Rocky would be nominated for 10 Oscars at the Academy Awards, winning Best Editing, Best Director, and became the first sports film to ever win Best Picture. Rocky was ranked number 57 in the American Film Institute's top 100 films in 1998, and it was knocked down to number 78 when they updated the list in 2007. As time went on, Rocky would have a whopping 7 sequels in the decade since its release, the first 5 following Rocky's career, and the last 2 focusing on the boxing career of Apollo Creed's son, played by Michael B. Jordan, with Stallone's Rocky taking on the role of the mentor/trainer. Creed 2 was released in November of last year. Stallone himself would direct 4 of the sequels and write all 5 of the Rocky sequels. And obviously the success of Rocky catapulted him to stardom, and he would go on to star in other popular films like the Rambo series, the Expendables series, the original Judge Dredd movie, Stop or My Mom Will Shoot, etc., etc. A film and a star that no one had much faith in that ended up becoming one of the biggest success stories Hollywood's ever seen. Rocky is a true underdog story, both for Balboa and Stallone. The film is a true example of that golden Hollywood dream where anybody can become a star when given the chance. Stallone got his chance, and the rest is history. Yo, Adrian, he did it.